Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back for another round of Raceface.Pro's GT3 series, and this is season 3, and it's round 2 at Brands Hatch. Tonight, I have the pleasure of welcoming a very special guest to me, a dear friend of mine, and someone that I've wanted to get involved in the casting scene for a little while. I have the pleasure of introducing Tsebo Meloto from Kaike Racing. He's the founder of Kaike Racing, and a very enthusiastic race fan like myself. So, Tsebo, how are you doing, mate?
Hey guys, welcome everyone to the Raceface GT3 Pro at Brands Hatch. I'm very excited to be part of this podcast tonight and looking forward to some exciting racing and obviously learning a lot from George, who's been doing this for a while. I'm just so overly excited and hope everyone will be just as excited as I am.
You know, Tsebo, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. We've got 20 minutes of qualifying before you and I get into our first race broadcast together. So we get a little bit of time to familiarize ourselves with the drivers out on track, and we get a little bit of time to run through some of the liveries for the race fans in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat as well who is here and joining us today. So thank you very much for being out here and supporting our drivers in the pro division here today. It's going to be a great day of racing. Brands Hatch, you know, not one of my favorite tracks, Tsebo. I'm not sure how you feel about it.
Yeah, I've known that for a while now, George. That Brands Hatch is not really your best track or favorite track for that matter. But I'm okay with it, you know. But I must say, I did not have a good time last night in the GT4 series, which I frankly was a bit shocked. But hey, I look forward to this race and learn from the pros. So yeah.
You're not wrong about it, and I think Brands Hatch a difficult track in any circumstances. You know, the track is quite narrow. It doesn't lead for a lot of overtaking. A lot of the moves are done by pressuring someone into making a mistake. So looks like Ansel going to be first out on track to go and set his first flying lap. We've also then got the likes of, I mean, these guys aren't out on track in any specific order. I think it will be Ansel to come out and finish off the first flying lap. So maybe we'll run on board with him for a little bit and see how he handles this circuit. I'm trying to find the camera angle that I quite fancy the most. This seems just about it for now. So we'll make use of this one for the moment and ride on board with Ansel as he comes down through Sterling's and makes his way down towards Clearways. This is rounding out his outlap. This should be his first flying lap. He's done his outlap already. This should be a timed lap on the board. We'll see where Ansel comes out, and then we'll be able to see where everyone else stacks up. So coming down towards the line now, we'll cross the line with a 1:25.032. And he got himself out a little bit early compared to a couple of people. Etienne Kleb will cross the line, setting a 1:23.7, so 1.2 seconds quicker than Ansel. We know that guys can get into the 1:22s here at Tsebo, but good effort for a first lap coming out from Kleb.
Yeah, definite good effort from the two guys there. Must say, I'm really looking forward to what the A2P guys are going to be pulling tonight, because they've really shown some good pace in the GT4 class. So, looking to see what they can do in the GT3 class.
Junior McCall is going to top the order and then be bested by his brother Morgan. So Junior McCall setting a 1:23.7, and Morgan McCall going to go over the line with a 1:23.5. Dion Cap going to get onto the board as well. One of your drivers, Tsebo from Kaike, he's going to set himself into 4th place with a 1:23.9. We've got Cameron O'Connor. That's a new name that I'm not familiar with seeing here. So I think this is a new entry coming out in that beautiful livery. Of course, one of the in-game ACC liveries. We do support some customs as well. But is this an in-game livery? It is. It's the is it the New Zealand car? I mean, it looks very similar, but I'm not 100% sure now. If I get confused if these are custom liveries these days. People are doing some good liveries, and makes it hard to read the order. So it still looks up at the top. Morgan McCall going to lead his brother Junior, who then leads on Kleb. It looks like Sinnerin going to get up the order too. He's going to go and set himself a, what is he doing? A 124.192. So that's down to fifth. So look at that for now, from first down to ninth or eighth place, separated by under a second.
Yeah, and I see Jordan Sherritt is actually now sitting on top, if I'm correct. Or is this now?
No, Jordan still seems to be down the order. Yeah, he's still in 15th at the moment. He didn't have the best of laps for his first lap. He was one of the top times in free practice. We got to see a little bit of that off camera.
I see. My broadcasting client is having a moment of its own here, trying to embarrass me.
No, so to fix that, Sebo, what you have to do, just exit out of the server, close the broadcasting client as well. Then reconnect to the server, then relaunch the broadcasting clients and connect again with it, and you'll be sorted. You'll have everything back to normal. We'll make it a lot easier.
All right. As I mentioned, learning as we go along. Appreciate it, George.
You know, that's what we do, and even in the racing side, these guys are learning as they go. We're going to get a look at the leaderboard again, and that's going to also highlight the fact that Kleb has now gone and bested his time. Jordan Sherritt will go and set the top time for this evening so far with a 122.641. Like we said, the 122s were very much possible, and 3 purple sectors go out to the man Jordan Sherritt. So he's going to go and get himself to the top of the qualifying order with 13 minutes to go. Johan Bego Grobler slots himself into second place for Team Resource Complete. The Team Try Hard Racing McLaren doing a brilliant job to get himself up the order. We don't see many McLarens here. He feels like one of the lone McLarens. I think he even is. And to see the McLaren here, of course, on at Brands Hatch up in second place, I'm sure a couple of British fans will be happy to see that. And Table, we have to touch on the fact that we don't have all of our drivers here this evening. Of course, a lot of drivers being impacted by the fact that we have load shedding across the country, and that means that they are unable to join with us for the racing, which is a little bit upsetting. It means that the grid order is empty. We don't see the same familiar faces we saw last week, and yeah, a bit of an unfortunate circumstance that's out of our control. A man that we haven't really talked about at the moment would be the likes of Kieran Patterson. He hasn't managed to get a lap in. Of course, this man from Patterson Works Racing right up in the front order last week. A very capable driver and competing all over the place. You see this car in, all over social media, and you just know that it's competing in as many series as possible. So Kieran going to jump back to the pits, make some final changes to his car, see if he can get back out and attack things. But the likes of Sherritt, Grobler, Kleb, McCall, Cap, Peters, Basson, Gaber, so all the way to 9th place. They haven't decided to bank their lap. They're still out on track, Sebs.
100%. And just to touch on the unfortunate circumstances of ESCOM, I mean, we had a grid of 32 drivers last night, and as you can see tonight, we only maxing out at 23, so there are a couple of people that we're missing out for sure. But, at least we have at least over 20 drivers, and that sure is going to give us some exciting racing about in Brands Hatch.
Definitely gonna open up for some opportunities to see some on-track battles. I think as much as Brands Hatch doesn't allow them, there are a couple of places that drivers do try and get a little move done. Of course, if you are good at defending the inside line, it makes it very difficult for drivers to sneak one on you. So if you try and hold off for the entire duration like that, you might lose some pace or just lose out with your mirrors being filled up. These are what these guys are going to try and not do. And of course, a longer stint here today than what we had in the GT4s yesterday means that we've got the mandatory pits out. They have to go in and do a tire change. And that also adds a little bit of diversity into the racing element. You got to plan your pit stop.
No, for sure. That will change about things on the grid. And as we can see, I mean, Anto was out to go first out, and already he's sitting at 19th position. That shows you that really the top guys are throwing it out there, putting it all they all, and it's showing in the time differences. But again, I mean, it's less than 2 seconds difference and puts you right at the bottom there.
Indeed it does. Amrish Sinarin gonna go out and see if he can attack the track a little bit again, out in the Lexus. Interesting car choice always. I always seem to feel that this car eats through its tires a little bit harder than a lot of the other cars do in the lineup. So this car in the longer stints definitely does favor that tire change. The mandatory stop going to work out for the Lexus. Maybe that's exactly what Sinarin is thinking about doing with it. Ryan Lewis in the Sun One Energy ASP team. Of course, that dashing, flaming Mercedes going to be spottable from a mile away. I want to see down the order as well. We've got Sean Schutter in his Ferrari, and of course representing EKZ Motorsport today. He's had a couple of good races. Down in 18th for now, but you know, don't discount where you start here. A couple of mistakes on the grid, and those positions just shuffle up so quickly. Kurt Glashagen, he's here again. Of course, he drives in the GT4 series as well as the GT3 series, so putting himself into a bit of the endurance sprint. A couple of drivers, of course, mixing it up in both series. But I gotta, you know, tip my hat to those drivers. It's a lot of commitment to have 6 weeks of driving 2 different car classes in a week. It's a lot of practice, and I'm glad that Raceface sort of aligns the track circuits, that they can just practice one track.
Most definitely, and that does take up a lot. That's why purely I have decided to just stick to the GT4s and just leave myself some room to rest a bit. But sure, these guys are really taking it in and giving us some good racing. Speaking of EKZ, if I'm not mistaken, Cornet Strauss is not racing tonight. Is he perhaps affected by ESCOM? I believe he should be.
Yeah,
racing.
you know, I'm not 100% sure. We've got a lot of drivers that are potentially out, and like you mentioned, there's probably a couple of drivers that we won't see here in the race, which is a bit unfortunate in terms of circumstances. We've hit that 8-minute mark now left of quali, and the track will be well rubbered in at this stage. 25 degrees the circuit, or the track temperature, 20 degrees ambient, and it's really starting to get to the point now where we start to see these times getting closer and closer. It is a big separation as Johan Bego-Krobler does a nice little 360 for us just before the entry to Sterling. Is going to reverse himself out of the racing line to make sure he doesn't get in anybody's way, and we'll dump the car back to the pits. But that's the runoff zone here at Brands Hatch. There's not much room to play with. It's a little bit hard to find the room past if you're going to go and try and make a move side by side. So as you can see, there's not a lot of that green runoff that you see at a lot of the more modern circuits. It's a lot of grass and then a barrier that's not too far away. So one small mistake and you've put it in the barrier, picked up that damage time that you need to either repair or sacrifice time to every lap, and not really what you want to do. So Gleb going to give it another stab. He's currently not up on his lap time coming into the top of Druids, but we will keep a close eye on all the guys out on track. Cameron O'Connor from EBM, number 92, is up 1/10 as he makes his way down to Hawthorns. So the double right-handers, he's come right into the end of the lap and he's gone straight into the pits. So he was up on his lap time, maybe invalidated, and decided to better go back to the pits and maybe make some changes if he can change up his starting position here today.
I actually wonder if maybe the track temperature was perhaps expected by the drivers, because it looks pretty hot. I mean, surely that's going to affect their tire wear and so forth.
I mean, I would say 25 degrees is an okay temperature for things to be at during quali. I think upwards of 35 degrees, 32 degrees, a 30-degree track temperature is really where a lot of people do their baseline setups around. So I don't think the temperature is excessively hot. So I think they really are going to be able to push these tires, and especially in these cars that are sort of formidable with that tire wear, anything that gets a little bit loose as well also eats through the tires a little bit quicker. So the likes of the Lamborghinis without a dialed-in setup, can be a little bit twitchy if it doesn't suit your driving style. Currently looking at Bernard King down in 22nd. He is currently dead even with his lap time. Sorry, he's in 21st, so things have changed just a little bit as he continues around. I don't really see too many people up on their lap times coming into the closing quali stages, which is, it's a little bit interesting to see. I think a lot of drivers really understand that at this stage, Jordan Sherritt is way up the order. It's 1.1 seconds between Sherritt and Bego Grobler in second. And, for him, that's a big gap that he's already built up. And if he can keep that up over the duration of the race, it's really going to favor him.
No, 100%, it definitely will, and probably ease off some pressure from him, at this current pace, well, as things stand. And just looking, as you mentioned, there isn't really much to be seen in terms of drivers improving and their times. It must be really difficult out there.
Well, my split time might have been lying to me before, because I didn't even see Morgan McCall was up on his time. He's gone and secured second place ahead of Bego Grobler.
Bless you, bro.
So Morgan McCall going to set himself a second place start. 4 minutes, or less than 4 minutes, 3 minutes 25 on the clock remaining. 3
minutes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bego Grobler's still out on the track. He still wants to get up. Oh, Junior's going to also jump himself up.
Junior's also going up, yep.
Oh, so the ATK boys here to party. The brothers are wanting to stick it there to Sherritt. And the double Lamborghini lineup getting itself into a second, third place for the manufacturer's start. They'll be happy with that. Then we got a McLaren. So Porsche, Lamborghini, McLaren, Aston Martin. Listen, GTR. That's our first, in the top 6. Just those manufacturers are not the cars that you would expect to be here. So Dian Cap in that KK321. He's definitely found a little bit of rhythm in a car that's not picked too often. It's always nice to see different cars coming up. I see Christos Besson going to jump himself up. He's going to sit in 8th place for now. He's got some traffic in front of him. The likes of Cameron O'Connor, the new name to Raceface for me, has gone and set himself what was his last lap? A 123.640, the number 92, doing big things here, starting within the top 10 in what I believe to be his first Raceface appearance. And if it's not, and I've got him completely muddled up and he's been here before, then that's my bad. Kieran Patterson, he does eventually feature Sebo. We wondered when he would jump up. He's in 10th, but this man doesn't just settle for where he qualifies. He makes his way through the order where he needs to, and as we've given him, it's the way that sometimes the cameramen work here. I feel like they've got a sniper rifle that can as we switch to them, take their cars out, and that's exactly what's happened there.
Or perhaps he was just showing us that lovely livery on that Porsche. That Porsche does look good though, with that South African flag.
You're not wrong. Look at this. Basson here is up at 10th, but he's coming into some traffic. O'Connor in front of him is down 3/10. Will Basson be able to make up some time through here? He's now dropped down a 10th, so Basson almost losing 2/10 there on that lap, which means that if he can find 2/10, that will be good enough for him to get into one position ahead.
Like he just gave it up.
He did. He's gone back into the pits to perhaps go and give it another stab. Who else is out on track that is up on their time? Brian Lewis in that Mercedes, the number 75, coming round Clearways and Clark Curve to round out his lap. Will cross the line. Will he improve his lap time? He will.
Yes, he will. He's spotted now in 9th. Speaking of Dian Kamp, he did mention to me that he would be happy with a top 6 because he's not really familiar with the track and he hasn't had enough time to. So I'm going to be quite happy that he's achieved his goal for the qualifying. We'll see how the race goes for him though.
It's only the start of a big mountain to climb indeed. Qualifying just the tip of the iceberg really, and it's got a very long way for these drivers to go out and prove who's going to come out on top this evening. We saw some great racing out of Barcelona for the entire duration of the race, and I'm hoping that the guys bring the same sort of element here today. I hope that track limits are respected. I hope that the drivers give each other room. It takes two to tango, and that was really what Batters Hugo, of course, did the drivers' briefing, sort of informed the drivers, went and sat in during that. It's always interesting to sit into those kind of things and, pretend to be one of these drivers. You get to hear what they go through, and, it is all about that thought process and how you make moves and how you improve them. So it looks like Kurt Glashagen out on track at the moment, and he is up 2/10 on his time. Potentially this may jump him up. I mean, he's in a whole pack of 24s. If he can get himself up into the low 24s, he might get up to the likes of starting in within the top 14, or top 15 should I say. 14th maybe up for grabs off of Albertine. Over the line he will go 19th for now, jumps up to 13th place, so a very good lap coming up. Yeah, on the last lap, the last car to go through. So I'm just gonna get our broadcasting window back over and take us back to the starting grid. All our drivers will have 2 minutes here to, of course, get things prepared on their setups, make sure that they're ready for the race to go live, get themselves out here. So I just want to quickly reintroduce the series. Of course, this is the Raceface.Pro GT3 Season 3 Race 2 at Brands Hatch, proudly sponsored by Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Simulations. Of course, a pair of Sparko gloves up for grabs for the winner from Black Ribbon. That's a recent addition during the last week. The driver of the top of the standings at the end of the season takes home a pair of Sparko race gloves. That's a pretty cool prize. I wish that I could win some race gloves. I guess you don't need them for commentary, do you, Tips?
No, I don't think you need them for commentary, but as we do some racing, and I've realized that what, gloves are indeed required. I've started developing some bad scratches on my fingers.
It's a struggle out there in the fakey racing world for us sim racers. We really feel like we should try and immersify ourselves as much as possible, and it goes a long way in saving the rim of your beloved race wheel, wearing gloves if you do sweat and things like that. So yeah, I think it's not just one of those things, people say, does it make you faster? It also preserves your gear, gives it a little bit of lifetime, and that's what it's all about. If you want some resale value on it when you decide to eventually upgrade, all there. So getting over into the sort of live stream mode in terms of the race that we're about to get. 10 seconds left on the clocks before our GT3 class roars at their engines. They'll take off in single file to perform their out lap, and then in double formation they will form up, and we'll have a rolling start to lead us away for an hour and 20-minute long race. One mandatory stop for them to make, and of course take the tire change within the pit
just to
window.
bring something to your attention, George, I see Daniel Rowe has perhaps forgotten to click the drive button, has jumped to the pits.
You're not wrong, he has, and we're going to see that pink Porsche from G4 Sim just sitting in his pit box. So an unfortunate circumstance coming out there. Looks like the rest of our drivers are going to get themselves away. So just to remind everybody who we've got here today, we've got Jordan Sherritt starting in pole position, followed up by Morgan McCall from ATK. Junior McCall, his brother, follows him up in third place. Johan Bego Grobler from Team Tryhard Racing, proudly sponsored by our race sponsor as well, Resource Complete. And we've got Etienne Kleb from Amp to Play, the top running A2P driver in that number 78 Aston Martin. Dion Cap from Kaike Racing starts in 6th place in his Nissan GTR. 7th will be Cameron O'Connor in that Porsche. And of course, if he's a new entrant, or I have mentioned him before, like I said, I'm sorry, but good to see a good-looking Porsche up at the front of the order. Christos Besson, another A2P driver within the top 10 in that lovely-looking Audi, and of course the very noticeable A2P colors. Also representing their Black Lives Matter themed cars that they introduced at the start of the BLM trend online, and of course sticking with the black, red and blue. I'm a big fan of the color scheme indeed. Brian Lewis from Sun 1, that's of course that blue and flaming Mercedes, starting in 9th place. And then we got Jan Spammers, I believe is the way that I should say it. I say Spammers because I'm very English and I ruin all Afrikaans surnames, and I apologize to all my Afrikaans fans and our race fans there today. I'm trying to get better with being multilingual, of course. I'm trying my best. So the top 10 rounded out there, and just outside the top 10, let me bring up the timing sheet there for you to see. We've got Kieran Patterson starting in 11th, then we've got Bernard Peters, Lars Hagen in 13th, Gabe in 14th, Franco Olbertain, Mark Antel, Johannes Grayling, Sienerin, Vogel, Kruger, Hendricks, King, Schutter, Artens, Van Mansberg, De Beer, and Rowe in the pits. So we're about to get things underway. Double file it will be for the start of this race, and 2 by 2 we go through clearways. The nice slow 70 kilometers an hour, drivers being warned to stay to either side of their respective parts of the road and maintain that speed limit. If they caught speeding, they pick up a drive-through penalty, and that is not what you want to get on the start. So the lights are about to go green, and green they go. We're live for the race. Jordan Sherritt going to defend the inside line against the attack of the ATK McCalls in their Lamborghinis. And it looks like for now we're going to get a little helicopter view from the top of the Druids. Is everybody coming down nice and clean through the order so far? We'll be able to get some name tags for the viewers as well, don't you worry. But up at the front of the order, it looks like it will be Jordan Sherritt to get away nice and cleanly. McCall, Bego, Grobler will settle into 4th. Etienne Kleb with a nice start as well. Or was it Etienne Kleb with a good start? It does look like it was a decent start. We'll wait for the timing sheet to update itself. It was a good start. Kleb into 5th place there, or staying in 5th place. Cap holds on to 6th. Everybody just settling into the train formations early on.
And I'd just like to remind everyone that we do look forward to that amazing battle between Patterson and Christos Besson from the previous race at Barcelona, and hope that we get something like that in the closing minutes of the race.
Just trying to track along with everybody at the moment. Looked like Bernard King was having a little bit of a move onto the likes of Artens. Artens chasing down. Sienerin is in the action as well. We've got almost 3 cars wide in front in the likes of Kruger and Grayling and Ansel. They're going to settle back down for clearways. It's not a corner you can really go side by side. Artens having a look on the back of Bernard King. This is the battle down in 20th place. The Geico Porsche all over the back of that murdered out Lambo. A little contact coming in. Arten's going to be sent wide. That's going to allow Sienerin through. Hendricks now on the charge 2 from Amp to play, and a big scrap going down here towards the back of the order. Up at the front, Sebo, it looks like things kind of calmed down a little bit. We don't have the same sort of battles that we see down in the order. Maybe we should try and stick with that for a little bit. It looks like King still having a look on the likes of Kruger and Sienerin also in this battle. So Sienerin will go side by side with King. Sebo, take us away.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the front, Sharon definitely has an impressive lead already. And we're seeing quite a bit of looking at the moment, looking at Patterson chasing down at Spammers. Actually gets a pass through Spammers, and now chasing down Lewis in that Mercedes default livery. But things are looking quite interesting down here by Patterson.
So we will get a little view here of Patterson as well. If the viewers can just let me know if you've got if the audio volumes are not quite right, we can drop down some game volume. I've got Sebo up to a level here, which looks like he's okay. Sebs, just make sure that you keep the mic at the same distance from you. You don't have to bring it any closer. Just make sure that it stays sort of there so that it picks you
Oh,
up.
was that too loud?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was a little bit low, really. So at the moment, it does look O'Connor. O'Connor's got a little move done on the likes of Cap up in front there. So it will be O'Connor to make a move onto Cap. Cap's dropped down to 8th place there. So it looks like a little change coming up in the order there. Jan Spam is here side by side with the likes of Brian Lewis down towards Hawthorns. Spam is on the outside, might lose out towards the likes of Gabba. Gabba losing it a little bit going through as well. So Gabba trying to keep it in.
Sorry, there a light touch on Gabba there from Spanish. That's basically what happened there.
So Peters is in this as well. A little bit of action in front. Lewis is off. Lewis has gone for a big spin off track. There's green flags being waved, the car out of the way. Peters now tucked up right behind the likes of Gabby here. Going to have a look towards the outside of Clearways. Not going to be able to do it. Glashagen putting on the pressure here as well in that blue and white Porsche. So a three-way battle here for what will essentially be 11th place for Gabba. Peter's going to have a look on the inside. Peter's going to make a contact. Glashagen going to be forced off as well. Peter's spinning across the track and a big contact coming in. Lots of drivers making their way through the field. Glashagen has got his Porsche back on track, but a big contact coming down into, like we said, a corner where you can't really make too many moves here. And a slight contact there going to affect the racing heavily. So Kieran Patterson up into 9th place there. Spammers putting on the pressure still. They're going to try and trace down the likes of Dian Cap in that GTR just a couple of seconds up the road. And it's a good bit of clear air for both these drivers to make progress in catching up. So they don't have the pressure behind from Albertine and Kruger just yet. Patterson can, work with Spammers here. Doesn't have to over-defend, and if he slips by somehow, you can always just hang on the back of him, use his slip to catch up to the likes of Cap. So a lot of time for these drivers to make up positions, but up at the front, it will be Sherritt just really showing that he's been putting in a lot of time and effort here and finding the time. 4.8 seconds gap to second place.
I see Sienna Rain, if that's how you pronounce his name, trying to get a look-see on Kruger and Albertine as they make their way into turn 1. Has been putting quite a bit of pressure on Kruger there for a bit throughout the last section of the track.
I mean, that's exactly what Albertine sort of wants for himself. He wants to back Kruger back into Sienna Rain, make Kruger have a battle on his hands that will give him the space to then move out of the danger zone. But so many times we see this driver in this 3rd position slot make their way through and get onto the front of, capitalize and leapfrog past Kruger and Albertine in this circumstance. So Sienna Rain is catching Kruger at a quicker rate than Kruger's catching Albertine. So that's exactly what I was talking about. That's what Albertine will want, because now Kruger's going to have his hands full.
Yes, definitely. Sienna Rain again putting in a bit of pressure. And also on my side, I'm seeing Teb trying to make a move on McCall as they come towards the last turn of the track.
They are indeed, and I don't think it's quite close enough yet for Kleb to get onto the likes of McCall. Let's go and switch over and see if these guys are battling it out together, and they are indeed. And we see Bego Krabla and Basson just in the background of them too. So Kleb now within a 10th reach of making a move if he needs to, as he comes to the top of Druids. Down through the tight left-hander, he's lost a little bit to the likes of McCall. They both break in a very similar place into the likes of Surtees, and then it's a run long down. And, I mean, these two cars probably fare quite evenly in terms of straight line speed. I think the Lambo maybe with a bit of an edge over the Aston Martin. But, if the Aston sticks in the slip, then he's got the aero advantage. So it's a very even sort of battle on track, and really comes down to just finding that rhythm and that speed, and of course avoiding drive-through penalties. They not easily found, but if you take a big chunk of track in the final sort of sectors here, and you take a big chunk out, you will be chucked that drive-through penalty, and that really puts an end to a race.
No, definitely. I mean, right now, I've gone back to look at where Patterson is at, and he's currently, um, yes, yes, like I said. Okay, okay, cool.
But Sebo, I've come back. I'm sorry, we're having a couple of audio issues, just making sure that things, it's always these audio gremlins that come underway. But we've got a nice little battle, like you said, between McCall and Kleb. And I just want to run with them for a little bit as they track on track here. And feel free to jump in and add some comms with me.
No, definitely. As we look at Kleb trying to rush into that Lamborghini of Junior McCall, he's really putting in a bit of pressure. I mean, looking back in the week, I understand that Junior McCall was having a bit of trouble with that Lamborghini, trying to get used to it and all. And this is quite showing, and looks like Kleb is taking advantage of that situation.
Kleb going to, like you said, just try and force McCall into making a mistake, maybe leaving a little bit of a space on the inside line. The pit window will go open now for the next hour for drivers to make those mandatory stops. And you can see that there is a little bit of space that McCall is kind of teasing Kleb with. It's not enough for a car to fit through just yet, but you can just see that Junior is not wanting to compromise his racing line. We make our way down to Surtees again. Kleb's fallen off just a little bit to where he was on the previous lap. Again, we said he needs to make use of the slipstream. And once again, on the way down through Pilgrim's Drop, not going to have that slipstream effect. And you can see the tents just climb up. Kleb here trying his best to get back onto the back of Junior McCall. He needs to have his car planted there to force the mistakes, and wide goes Kleb just a little bit. Might give Bego Krobler some opportunities.
Yeah, but you can clearly see that McCall is really not having any of that. He's really, really holding his line and definitely giving Kleb a hard time to try and push his nose into it.
Indeed he is. Kleb still needs to worry about that bright orange team try-hard McLaren rearing its head behind him. So we see him coming up to the end of the lap. He hasn't quite got up towards that pressure zone onto McCall. Good work from Junior here to hold Kleb back, and Kleb is definitely getting caught up by Bego Krobler, and that could benefit McCall and really help him just secure that third place position. Of course, it's only an hour. We've got an hour and 8 minutes of racing remaining for these guys on track, and it's any man's game at this point. So if one mistake comes out from either of these drivers, that's going to open things up. You see Bazan in the background of that shot too. He's in 6th place, O'Connor in 7th, Cap in 8th, and they are just down the road. So one small spin and things will change up. I want to go and see if we've got any close battles on track. De Beer and Van Mansberg are getting themselves closer together. Still a little bit of a gap between them. Arno Van Mansberg is actually driving the new liveried Team Resource Complete Porsche. I mean, just look at how nice his livery looks all wrapped around. We loaded that up just before the server went live. And of course, if you guys have custom liveries that you want to run in the league, they are supported and you can send them through, and we will load them up into the server so that the stream viewers will see them. Kleb and McCall, that's the battle that we talked about earlier. It will still continue, and Kleb this time around is closer to Tebo.
Yes, definitely closing in. Kleb is. But again, McCall not really having that. Junior is really fighting his way, really showing that he is capable. He's very much in control of this race and not giving Kleb any reason to feel confident to make that pass.
He's not able to quite get on with it though, so it's a very even pace basis coming out here. If we look at lap times, the last lap coming out from Kleb was 2/10 quicker than what McCall did. Both of them sort of running around in the 1:25s. It's McCall, Kleb, and Bego Krobler all in the 25s. And then we see a couple of guys dropping down into the 24s behind them, which leads to perhaps the fact that we're going to see some more action later on after the pit stops are made. And this is potentially where Kleb is wanting to get the move done. Side by side, he is going to go into She curve, but he won't. Oh, he will. It will be wide for Junior. Junior goes very wide. He's picked up the dirt. Krobler, is he going to have a look? No, it's Basson. Basson with the charge through Sterling's now is going to keep the likes of Bego Krobler from progressing further on. He has to get quickly onto the offensive here, and Basson switches things around. Now down the final start-finish straight for the end of their 9th lap. They will drag it out. The inside line will be there for Basson into Paddock Hill Bend, and Basson, beautiful bit of driving coming out.
Beautiful driving indeed from Basson. They're clinching in that position from Bego Krobler. And of course, Kleb, well deserved there, taking on Junior McCall. That was pretty impressive what just happened there. And unfortunately,
it was all about that pressuring into the mistake. Junior went wide out of the exit of Westfield, then through Dingle Dell. He picked up a bit of dirt, and it just wasn't his corner to defend, and he just had to give the line there. And good respect for him to do so, because if he hadn't given that respect, it would have ended in tears for both drivers. So we will see some drivers doing the mandatory stops, of course. That's going to start happening along the field. You'll see their little orange number next to their race number on the timing sheet will change to a little green board when they are done. So Senerin here in 12th. Glasshagen putting some pressure onto him, enough to just give us a little note on the timing sheet that there is some action out on track. Sherritt catching up to some back markers up front. I just want to see what his current gap is to second place when we can see it. He's now 12 seconds ahead of Morgan McCall. Jordan Sherritt is checked out of this race. He just did a 1:23.3, his best lap so far, 1:23, almost dead. So almost lapping 9/10 quicker than what Morgan has done in his best lap. Last lap coming out from Morgan, almost 1 point or just 1 second dead slower than what Sherritt had done. So we'll see Morgan McCall just updated to 11.6 seconds behind, but a massive gap just starting to evolve here. Kleb, of course, is also now starting to gap the likes of McCall. We saw he had that timing split advantage, and he's starting to make use of it here, Sebs.
That is correct, and he's really pulling that gain on Junior McCall. And but just to mention that Junior obviously is now under a lot of pressure because he is sandwiched between the two teammates, Kleb and Basson, and he could see himself, if he's not careful, he'll see himself losing another position to Basson.
Give him a little inch and he will take a nautical mile from you, so you have to make sure that you don't make any mistakes. We see Albertine and Schutter just in 19th and 20th going to go into the pits. So a couple of drivers, like we said, making use of that sort of early pit stop strategy here in the race. It's not super early, it's not super late, but it's definitely not that halfway mark that we see a lot of the drivers kind of aim to go in. Basson making good progress onto the back of Junior McCall, and Bego Krobler not quite able to regain that track position that he lost out to Basson when he ran a little bit wide as well, in kind of avoiding what McCall might have kicked back his way had his exit at the top of Sheen Curve been, really wrong. A lot of dirt being picked up. If you're not careful with the accelerator pedal, your car comes back across the track and collects a couple of cars here, and that can be absolutely devastating indeed. So Cameron O'Connor and your Mr. Dion Cap are out on track and doing some good old driving together. It's only like a tenth that separates them in terms of their last lap times, as well as 2 tenths between their best times. Cap with a 2 tenths advantage onto the likes of Connor, and trying to, of course, squeeze as much advantage out of that as he can.
Yeah, it most definitely looks like Cup is hungry to regain that position. He did qualify at 6th position and dropped down a few positions. But looking again at Sherrod and his progressively increasing lead has gone up now to 13 seconds. I mean, that is just, he's just have it now in the bag if he goes on at this race, at this pace.
I mean, if it's internet connection depending, as like a terms and conditions disclaimer on that, I mean, he's had unfortunate race circumstances with connectivity, and hopefully that's not what robs him of his victory here. Last week we saw, of course, a insane battle for what would have only been 2nd, 3rd, and 4th suddenly become a scrap down to the line for the lead, and a final like 4/10 separation between the race leaders, or the top 3, should I say. It was really good racing. So Jordan Sherrod deserves a win here, and in convincing style. He just doesn't seem to drop off the pace that a lot of drivers do, and that's what it's all about, consistency. And if you can get a balance of consistency and just raw pace, and you've really got a battle on your hand. And we're just going to still track along with O'Connor and Cap, because I feel like my spidey senses are tingling that perhaps we might see a little move being made by Cap here. Maybe it's not the place to do it. He's gone very wide into clearways, and again, trying to line himself up maybe a little bit too early to the likes of Cameron O'Connor. And that's going to open up opportunity for this man, Jan Spammers, who's the BWR Scorpions driver. Lots of BWR support I see for sim racing. They've got quite a few capable teams, and Jan Spammers last week looked so good out in Barcelona. He had some good pace, and although he wasn't, I think his race was a bit plagued with some unfortunate circumstances. He might have picked up some damage, or he's in the pits for whatever reason too early. But I mean, he was out on track, keeping pace with a lot of cars coming to, seemingly be out of position for him. Blue flags being waved, but being able to keep that pace. So good to see him here in the top 10. I think that's where his pace indicated he deserved to be last week. And again, it's like, this is what you want to see for drivers, being in the position they deserve to be. Up at the front, I mean, Kleb and Bassan has got past Junior McCall. We haven't seen that happen. So Bassan now slots in behind his teammate. Big stuff coming out from the to play boys. And a 3rd and 4th position now is a great thing that they all want to hold off and defend. And you know what? This gives you the opportunity to now work together if you need to start reeling in the likes of Morgan McCall. And I mean, he's just gone over the start-finish line. Kleb and Bassan will be going over the same start-finish line now. So, relatively 3.4 seconds isn't unachievable in the next 58 minutes. And if we look at their lap times, they are not really comparable. Kleb's wasn't in terms of the last lap that he did, but Bassan certainly has that opportunity. So perhaps Kleb, when he gets caught up by Bassan, will send the little rocket on his own mission. Team orders, let Bassan try and catch up to McCall. Pressure on McCall would then maybe allow Bassan to capitalize off that and catch back on, allow Kleb to catch back up to them, and get themselves maybe another podium spot if they can. A 2nd and 3rd will be absolutely massive for the boys in black, red, and blue.
That is true indeed. And I mean, looking at Bassan's current lap times, he is a bit quicker than Kleb. And as you mentioned, they would need to apply some teamwork to let them together, make that 2nd and 3rd place just after Sherrod, obviously.
Junior McCall needs to be careful here, Tsebo. He's got that team try-hard McLaren trying very hard to take some extra positions and points away from him. Vega Krobler made a bit of a mistake up towards the end of Sheen curve, which unfortunately means that he's going to have to make all that time back up again, but down within a 10th between the two of them into the likes of the double right-handers at the end of the straight. That's a good place for Krobler to be, and if he can be there at the start of the straight, He's going to have the slipstream to maybe have a look. And Junior going to run very wide.
Yeah. Yeah, the race doesn't look to be going too well for Junior at the moment. He seems to be making small mistakes that cost him quite dearly. I hope he can just pull it together.
It really isn't something that you want to see is drivers making those mistakes, but at the same time you realize that it's what a lot of the pressure is kind of alluding to from the other drivers. It's the way that they make up positions here. It's putting that continuous pressure on. You see the back end of that Lambo looking very light as well in the exit to Sheen. And as he dips into Sterling's, this is where Bego Krobler kind of lost a lot of his time on the previous lap. We've seen a couple of drivers also taking the absolutely wrong line through clearways, and that messes up any sort of sprintability that you have on these fast sections where you can get onto the loud pedal. You really rely on having a good entry and exit speed to those sort of corners on these tight, twisty circuits. The uncap is going to feel some of the pressure as well. Sorry, Sebs.
I was about to jump onto the current battle between the uncap and O'Connor and Spammers. Yeah, because that looks like something to look at the moment. They're really trying hard as well to grab some positions off each other. Sorry, you may continue, Joe.
No, I mean, I was giving you the floor. It's this was exactly where I sort of switched over to Cap and O'Connor. Of course, they've been in this sort of knife fight duel for the entire duration of the race. It feels every time we switched over, it was sort of that battling position. Spammer's getting himself closer and closer is always going to benefit him. Kieran Patterson in 10th place at the moment. Again, like I said, maybe just holding back his pace here, waiting for some saving of the tires, maybe knowing that a lot of the drivers here are going to struggle out on track. But the Patterson works Porsche in 10th, or call it 9th place, as McCall's dipped into the pits now. So McCall will jump into the pits to serve his pit stop, which I don't hate, because the likes of Kleb and Besson were slowly catching up to him. So he's now removed their chance of doing a little undercut maneuver onto him. He hopes to come out in a bit of cleaner air, though. That's going to be critical in where he comes out in this position.
Yeah, and I just hope that he doesn't get caught up in the back markers. That could technically slow him down a bit. But I just also wonder when the A2P guys will plan to do their pit stop. I mean, we are moving closer to the halfway mark there in the race.
It's not something that I guess you have to really jump into when you are in a position where your two drivers are in similar race positions up at the front. You can really play with things. You really want to be able to maintain a third, fourth when you come back out of the pits, or you want to be able to now start to work together to make sure that Morgan has put himself in that position. So if Kleb and Besson can get on with it, they've got no dirty air in front of them. If they can now start to put in a gap and McCall comes out behind back markers and struggles to get through, I mean, currently where he stands, let's just see. I mean, he's right behind Jordan Sherritt, so drivers will be moving out of the way for the likes of Sherritt in front of him. We can just see it on his relative leaderboard time. Then he's got sort of 5.2 seconds to Ansel, 5.5 to Hendricks, and 8 seconds up to Krayling. So he's got some back markers there. They might impact the race, they might not. So it is all that gamble game coming out. But Kleb and Besson know that they need to continue to put in the best lap times that they can. We're going to see some pretty high 24s coming out from both of them on those last 2 lap times. So Basson, like I said to you, Tibbs, I think is being held up just a little bit here.
Yeah. Looking at their lap times, they're actually doing pretty well, and if they maintain it in this pace, they more than I can undercut McCall with those, as we see predict that it might be held back by Marcus, but they really did not. They doing high force. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Sorry. My mic is on its own mission. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I've got you a little bit better there. It was definitely breaking up a little bit. I mean, I've been plagued with mic issues myself, so these don't feel too bad. But I mean, you can also take us away with the next sort of update here as well. Look at where O'Connor sits in that 3-man train.
Yes, we see Cup has actually made his way past the corner.
He has indeed, and Spammers now is going to be putting that pressure onto O'Connor. So if Cap can really use this to his advantage, start to work onto the likes of Bego Grobler, it will. O'Connor, big mistake coming out. That's going to allow Spammers to go side by side for sure through Sheen Curve, and it will be an easy inside line for Spammers to take, but O'Connor still got the defense going down. We'll have the run down to Sterling's, and O'Connor with a great apex through. Look at the exit speed that O'Connor's pulled onto Spammers on their way down to Clearways and Clark Curve. O'Connor with a good bit of driving. He had lost it to Spammers on the exit of Sheed, saves it into Sterling's, and then puts in 3 car lengths as they make their way down the start-finish straight as well.
That was a good recovery from O'Connor then. I mean, he was almost gone, and they just cinched it back. Second last corner out. Great exit, and just managed to pull away from Spammers. Good driving there from O'Connor.
I mean, it's still the teammates up in second and third, Basson and Kleb, that shows our closest cars on track in terms of time. And then we've got Sienerin and Klaas Hagen also in 9th and 10th, showing very similar sort of splits, 4/10 between them. Klaas Hagen late onto the brakes through the top of Druids, but not enough to get himself anywhere closer to passing. So difficult to pass the likes of Sienerin. He's trying to force the errors on. And Sienerin with the indicator on, is he indicating that Klaas Hagen needs to make a pass, or is he mistakenly got the indicator on the Lexus? I mean, it's still flashing on the one side. It can be very confusing. It's on the entire time. I think he's hit it on by mistake and not quite aware of it, because he's most certainly not pulling away to the side. And I do see the blinkers now turned off. So perhaps
a mistake that was.
Perhaps, I mean, we can only theorize and play with what we've got, and of course those little nuances are always interesting to see. O'Connor has saved himself a bit of space to the likes of Spammers Cap, really getting the move on up in 5th place. So good drive coming out from him. Junior McCall and the likes of a lapped car of Antle are in a bit of what feels like Antle trying to unlap himself from McCall. Antle's just holding on to the back. We saw McCall exit the pits and then just sort of stay in the same position as Antle's also gone and served his pit stop. So just a lap difference, I guess, between the two of them. Antle on lap 20, McCall on 21. So yes, indeed, Antle lapped out and sort of playing in McCall's rearview mirrors. Maybe not really the best thing that he wants here. Sienerin is going to get passed there by Klaas Hagen. Just as we switch away, we're going to see that the Lexus is really struggling for a little bit of grip. You see how deep he goes onto the brakes, and very wide and understeery through Surtees.
Yeah, some good driving there from Klaas Hagen. And we see Bajo, what?
There you go, Grobler. I'm going to see if I can get a replay. Now, with the custom liveries, we do get a bit of a freeze here, so it will hopefully freeze and come back. Woo! We survived the freeze dump. So Vega Krobler gonna be sending it, of course, through through Dingledale and on the way up to Sheen. There's Sheen. Then I think, does he pick up some grass here? No, he doesn't. He does. So he so
yeah.
That's exactly what happened. He touched a bit of grass that messed with his brakes down to Sterling, and then he's had to rejoin the track safely. So that's allowed the likes of Cap, O'Connor, and Spammers straight through, and that means that Cap has got himself up to 4th place now.
Yeah, I'm sure Badger Kobler will not be happy about that mistake that he just made there. Has allowed the likes of Dion Cup and O'Connor and Spammers to gain a position, a free position for that fact. So the Sun has made a move then, or Seb is in the pits, yeah. That's a big one. That's a big one for Seb. Yeah, and Basan is doing a great job. Although that mistake has allowed Dian Cup now to get really closing in on him, and also a corner. Not sure if. Oh, there goes Basan. He is definitely feeling maybe the tire wear on him and has pulled into the pits.
Yeah, you know, he was losing a little bit of time there as well. He was feeling the pressure from Cap. O'Connor will stay out as well, so he's trying to get himself up. As you know, he hasn't had too much slow factoring to play with. He's had to deal with, you know, just quick cars.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where Basan will come out from his pit, but I rate that it could be a good one. Just trying to see where my call is at the moment, and
I mean, Morgan is down in 10th place currently, sort of caught up behind the likes of, not even caught up behind the likes of Kleb. So Morgan and Junior both in the same position here down the order. McCall trying to get past Van Mansberg there, for Mansberg in the background as well. So a little battle for position there for Mansberg. Not going to put up too much of a fight and allow Junior to get by. but it is all about where they come out with that pit stop. And of course, Basson, he's come out just behind. Looks like he's come out behind both McCall brothers. So that fight that I said to you was a little bit late coming through, and I think that
has cost him.
That has cost him. Basson comes out behind Morgan and Junior, and now it's a little split sandwich. Van Mansberg is caught up in this. He hasn't gone into the pits, so he'll probably be looking to get out of the way. We've got Jordan Sherritt, our race leader, coming down the line too. Van Mansberg wants to let Sherritt through, and will let Basson through as well. Realizes that they are in different pit strategies. There's no point fighting for that position, and Basson will then at least have that to play with. So I see that in our chat we've had some issues with some in-game sound / commentators and etc. I would just like to double check with the viewers that you guys can hear us now and that things are back to how they were. I apologize for the gremlins again that have plagued us this evening. Not quite sure why things are just entirely stopping coming through. So Peters will jump into the pits. He was in 8th place. He'll jump down the order. Now Kleb is really in a good place here to get 2nd place if he can continue to make his way through the back-marking traffic ahead of him.
I see the comments on the stream about the sound. Is that from my sound or your sound perspective? I'm not sure. Perhaps it's from my sound.
I mean, on my side, I can hear you. I can see your little bar coming up, and I can see the bar going up on the stream PC as well. So I'm fairly confident that both sounds sound okay now. We had a couple of issues earlier on where things weren't coming through. So after a little reset, we are back in running with the order. Kleb here on the back of Kruger. Kruger, of course, out of position here for Kleb. Kleb wanting to get by. Kruger sitting in 17th position.
Kleb goes wide a bit.
He does. He's not quite in a place for Kruger to move out of the way. But of course, the blue flags are being waved, and he doesn't want to. Sacrifice his position, but he will have to, not hold up Kleb's pace. Kleb currently sitting in the 1:25.6s after that last lap. We saw some mistakes made, and unfortunately, it is all going to play into the ATK driver's hands. We see McCall and McCall just behind Kleb at the top of Druids now. Those Lamborghinis are starting to reel in. Kleb needs to get past the likes of Kruger now. Just look at how much time he's losing to Kruger. Kruger will move over. He sees that there's a battle coming down, does the right thing just before Surtees, and it will be a good place. Kruger now might be able to just sit in the slipstream of Kleb. Kleb is going to be okay with that. He doesn't. He wants to keep Kruger between him and McCall for as long as possible, and he will hope that where they come out is a place that Kruger isn't able to just pull over for them to pass, and they're going to have to kind of get held up there a little bit. Kleb needs to keep his head down and focused on where things stand. Jordan will go into the pits, and with a long pit coming in from Jordan Sherritt. He will go into the pits.
He's pulling out at the moment.
We're going to see where he comes out to the likes of Kleb. It should be completely safe, and it will be. I mean, Kleb's only now coming into the final corner of going through Clark Curve, and it will not be enough. Jordan Sherritt out on track again. Will sit in 2nd place until Dion Cap goes into the pits, but it does give our Kaike Racing number 321 a little chance to sit in that number 1 spot. Of course, we do see that little 1 indicating that he's got to go into the pits. Some white flags being waved indicating some slow cars in track ahead of Cap here. Cap may be peeling into the pits shortly, and it will be on this lap. So just 1 lap will be led in the by the GTR, but it goes into the stats. We want to get some stats at the end of the day.
It goes into the stats to say, you know what, it counted. First place.
You know what? We want to have the stats of how many laps certain manufacturers have led each race by the end of each season, and the GTR managed to lead for 17 laps or 20 laps or however many in kilometers we can convert all the stats, you know, all of that kind of like little fun trivia info would be quite cool to get out at the end of the day. So Cap goes in, Sherritt will resume the lead. Kleb is holding down a second place. This will now be interesting to see where Cap comes out in the likes of to the likes of Etienne Kleb. Cap in the pits at the moment will be putting the car down and starting it back up shortly. The car will be starting up there. It drops down. Kleb coming down through the exit to Clark Curve, and it will be Cap to leave. I do believe Kleb will have the speed. Kleb will get out ahead. McCall will get out ahead. Cap now coming down. Will he get ahead of Basson though? And he will. He will get ahead of Basson. Daniel Rowe picks up a drive-through penalty down in 22nd as well.
Could that be perhaps from speeding in the pits from Daniel Rowe? Because he was in the pits at some point earlier on.
I mean, it could have been. I mean, he's jumped into it's just showing him there in the pits, 21 laps. He's been there for a while. I'm not even sure how he got the drive-through penalty. Like you said, maybe, you know, by mistake, and he drove while sitting there after retiring. I'm not even sure how that's happened. But yeah, he's not done very many laps in a long time.
Yeah, must have been either a technical glitch or and I'm not sure. Again, if I'm not mistaken, George, we do have live stewarding, correct?
You know, you're actually not wrong. That could be exactly what's happening. We do have some live stewarding going down. I see that Daniel Rose now left the server as well. So I saw a little pop-up come up on the screen. I wasn't quite quick enough to read what it had said, what the drive-through was for, where it was awarded. I was too busy following the action on track as Morgan Jr. try and chase down the likes of Kleb. But Kleb looking very comfortable now in his Aston Martin. New set of tackies on it indeed, and as I say that, very wide through Druids, and that's going to allow those Lamborghinis to get themselves a little bit closer up. Cap is going to have his hands full of Christos Basson, no doubt. That will be something interesting towards the end. Cap very, you know, just a little bit of mowing services. We've seen a couple of different teams and manufacturers offering mowing services at various tracks, and yeah, the Cap mowing service going to come out here down towards you know, the likes of Surtees there for Dion Cap. So it happens, but those mistakes are costly. You see McCall's run wide as well in front of them. So Junior kicking up some dirt too. All these drivers trying to adapt to some of these lighting conditions. I mean, I want to get a little bit of an onboard lap through here. Of course, the sun is coming down. It's getting a little bit darker. 7:41 p.m. And Mr. Dion Cap doing a great job. Just look at the sun hitting your eyes as you make your way around, the sunset getting into your vision. It just pops up at some of the weirdest times, and that can be really disorientating. So perhaps we should ride with a little onboard lap here with Dion Cap as he makes his way up to Paddock Hill Bend. Right-hander, got to carry as much speed as you can. Make your way up towards Druids, under the bridge, onto the brakes. A tight right-hander. And again, use all the track that you can. Not a lot of track to really use. Make your way back over to the right of the track. Throw it in for the left-hander. Really just double on the brakes. And then use that slight bit of exit on the way down to Surtees. Then hug the inside apex. Get your foot down on the loud pedal. And get yourself prepared for the run down to Pilgrim's Drop. Up to Hawthorne Hill. And then through the infamous Hawthorns, which of course is again just a little dabble on the brakes, throw the car in, trust the aero to hold you through, not a lot of runoff to use. Then it's Westfield again, throw the car in, battle, struggle, try and keep it on, and then get back on to the accelerator pedal again through Dingledale and Sheen Curve. It's then one last turning point through to Sterling's before you then have to really try and make sure that you don't miss the final braking point for Clearways and Clark Curve to make your way to finish off the lap. So as you see that sun coming down, it starts to get into the visual points of these drivers, and they have to be very careful that they don't lose out positions because they run wide.
I wanted to make a point, a comment about that, son, because I experienced it firsthand yesterday, and it really gets to your eyes as it sets onto the horizon. You know, it's just terrible.
The lighting design is absolutely incredible. Kunos has done such a top-notch job that, you know, I find myself sort of doing eye strain. You know, I'm finishing up my eyes because the sun effects feel so realistic in the way that they simulate them. So out on track, let's get a little rundown of the leaderboard. Sherritt holds down first, Kleb second, McCall and McCall in third and fourth, Morgan and Junior. Then we've got Cap, Bassan, O'Connor, Spammers, Patterson and Glasshagen, in 10th place, rounding up the top 10. Then we've got Sienerin, Peters, Bego-Krobler, von Mansberg, De Beer, Kruger, Ansel, Schutter, Hendricks, Vogel, and King. It looks like those will be our top 20 then rounded out. Quite a couple of drivers have dropped out in the running so far, so perhaps being plagued by the fact that we have no electricity all the time and sometimes it gets taken away from us. It's not something that we can control. So I see a very wide running King on the outside of the track. There's a Bernard King down in 20th place, running wide. Not going to lose out on a position there to Brandon Kruger, who's already passed him. But Asia Racing trying to get themselves away from finishing right at the back of the order. Of course, it's not. Someone has to be that person at the end of the day. And as you know, you can only really appreciate guys that have stayed to the end of the race, regardless, you know, what's happened. It's
George, I just want to bring your attention to Bassan quickly and O'Connor here. It seems that Bassan is either struggling a bit or either getting tired or something, but he seems to be making quite a few mistakes on the track, which has allowed O'Connor to make him quite a bit ahead.
I mean, did Bassan perhaps chuck in too much fuel or something in his pit stop? I wouldn't have expected him to be taking fuel. Well, I mean, I wouldn't expect him to overfuel his car. You know, mistakes do happen though. It's a good point though, because of course, you know, Dion Cap's having a good run up there. He's now the separating car. He's got the McCalls in front of him, and the Sun really does seem to be struggling in that Audi, and he's going to have to go massively defensive in trying to hold O'Connor off, and this is just going to cost him time towards catching that number 321 Nissan ahead. But if he can hold the points positions, that's what he will care about now. So the sun dips lower and our drivers continue to fight deeper. It's never over until the very end. The 30 minutes left of the race to go. It really is that final little sprint that we're coming down into. And this is where all that tire wear and the planning and the fuel loads start to pay effect. Where you've gone into the pits, where you've come out of the pits, what your potential is to make positions up. O'Connor, of course, if he wants to try and get, well, look at Dion Cap and McCall. Yeah. Dion Cap and McCall. Dion Cap is putting massive pressure onto the likes of Junior McCall here. Dion Cap is right on the back end of Junior McCall. Junior McCall feeling the pressure indeed here from the Kayak driver. Dion Cap coming down towards Sterling's now. McCall will be well aware of this GTR in his mirrors, and that will be playing absolute havoc. Look at the sun on the dashboard. It sets low. It's not quite low enough to hide behind the grandstand. McCall with a bit of an exit error out on Clark Curve, and this may be the run that Cap will need on the next lap. We saw how close he was down through Pilgrim's Drop and up towards Hawthorns, and McCall running very wide. The inside line potentially here. Cap going to come into contact with the rear end of McCall, and McCall will be spun around. Cap is waiting for McCall. He knows he's caused that error, and what a good bit of sportsmanship for Cap to wait on track for McCall to come and take the position back. So Cap will wait it out. McCall will get his position back, and good sportsmanship from Cap. Saw that he had made the mistake and will give the position back. Unfortunate circumstances though for McCall. Will lose him a couple of positions, And that will be something that perhaps will go towards the stewards to make a decision. Basson and O'Connor, they are not easing up. O'Connor's gone very wide though as we say that, Sebo.
Yep, it's those candidates not exactly what we are thinking about. Moment we shift to something. Okay. Yeah, so looking at um what you mentioned about O'Connor is those sniper cameramen that the moment you switch to the driver, then all of a sudden something goes pear shaped, and it's unfortunate.
It does go pear-shaped, and unfortunately it feels like we're having a couple more audio errors, perhaps losing a bit of internet connectivity towards Sebo. So Sebo is going to just try and sort out his microphone glitch there, just see if he can rejoin us again. 5-second penalty coming in to Dion Cap there. So, and although he gave the position back, so a very minimum position, a minimal penalty coming out for Cap there. I think if he hadn't waited, it would have been a lot more severe. But Cap then picking up that 5-second penalty will be able to fight back against McCall. The damage may be picked up by McCall will be a little bit too much to be able to hold on to the likes of Cap. So Cap now wanting to run down the road and try and negate the effect of that 5-second penalty.
George, just looking at Morgan, who's currently chasing 8 this also looks to be something that can develop into try to
So Sebo having some very severe internet issues. Of course, my absolute pleasure to have Sebo here with me this evening. It's his first time in the comms box. He's a very passionate driver and racer, and he's sort of showed some interest in getting involved in the commentary. So those kind of things will be worked out, and microphone issues from his side and internet issues will all be worked through. So I always appreciate Sebo being here with me tonight, and finally it's time to hear the man, talk a little bit about some sim racing. He's heard me do it, and it's great to have you here. So Sebo, are you back yet with us?
Yeah, just testing if the audio is better now.
It sounds phenomenally better for me, so I'm hoping that our viewers are having the same experience of hearing your voice.
I do apologize to the viewers. These gremlins can creep up on you. And as we are talking about gremlins, here's McCall trying to make a move, and we have a little bump there with Tep, as Tep regained his position back on McCall.
Yeah, it was that fight coming in, but Kleb now going very wide. McCall going to send it on the inside. Kleb round the outside still holds off Morgan. So McCall now putting on a lot of pressure onto Kleb up to the top of Druids. It will still be a better exit coming out from Kleb. Gives himself some breathing space down into the tight left-hander. The exit coming out from Kleb looking good. Not too much grass picked up. McCall, identical line really coming through. Now into Surtees on that inside apex. Both cars nailing where they needed to go. And now down the back stretch to wind the motors through. Kleb will not have any slipstream in front. McCall will be trying to tuck in. But we must just say that Aston Martin looking very dialed in at the moment, and Kleb looking like even if McCall is trying to have some moves in strange places, Kleb able to just hold off, and even if he has to defend wide on the outside because the move has been made, he seems to get a good drive out of the corners.
Yeah, I assume at this point in time the guys are maybe getting a bit tired as well. It could be maybe fatigue, but who knows? Also the pressure, just knowing that you've got that last 22 minutes just to hold off that lead or hold off that position. whilst you're still getting a bit more pressure from the guy behind you. That could really be taxing on the guys.
I think it's a good point. You know, the constant focus that's required at Brands Hatch after an hour and 20 minutes does become insane, knowing that these guys still have 20 minutes of driving to do to finalize up the order. That means that plenty of time still for McCall here to find some space onto Kleb if a mistake is made. But very clinical drive coming out from Etienne, a driver that I've followed from Project Cars 2 days when I originally got into sim racing, and has developed in terms of just his driver skill level quite well. He went through a sort of phase where he dropped off in terms of featuring a lot for me. Didn't see him too much, but then came back through very strong in the ACC front, and has just started making his way back up towards the front of the grid once again. And he's also joined by the likes of his teammate Christos Besson, who also, you know, incredible promise being shown, came over from the keyboard side originally in Project Cars 2 as well. You know, those are all sort of the breeding grounds of where a lot of the drivers that I'm familiar with came from. And then along the lines, we've had some really new names added into the mix, some real life drivers coming through too. And you know, the likes of Morgan McCall and his younger brother, their story of getting picked up by the ATK team is great for me. It's nice to see some real support being shown to sim racing, and you know, seeing everybody getting a little bit more involved, you know, from sponsors getting involved here at Raceface, Resource Complete, and Black Ribbon Sim. A massive thanks from all involved. Schutter with a bit of a spin, he's down in 20th place, so that's not going to be in position here on screen. Denerin and Peters are in a scrappy scrap, another Lambo versus Lexus fight. I say another, it's just another Lambo in a fight. The Lexus is a new element in this, and as we switch over to them coming through, look like through Dingle Dell, Denerin just found a little bit more onto Peters, gave himself a little bit more space, and Peters going to have to work hard to get back into that attacking position. I don't want to leave the front pack battle between Kleb and McCall though, because I feel like this is getting to that point where things could get interesting. Patterson, he's under attack from Cap now. Cap with that penalty, and it will be Junior to get back by on Dian Cap. So Dian's kind of fallen back down the order now. He's slotted in behind the likes of Kieran Patterson. Kieran gonna make the mistake.
Yeah, sorry, George.
No, I'm not quite sure what even quite happened there. Patterson just kind of didn't have the right drive.
Lost control.
Yeah,
he lost control of his car. His rear just stepped out and almost connected with Cup there. But this is again just again I mentioned that perhaps it's fatigue. I'm not sure. Perhaps it's just tire wear.
Listen, I'm starting to even doubt us calling this fatigue in our pro splits, and I won't actually let us get away with it. And I'll stop you from mentioning it anymore. The last thing I want to hear is our pro drivers telling me that they're now fatigued.
Okay,
you know,
no, 100%.
I would be fatigued because I'm not on their level, but these guys, they put in the paces, and it will really be down to the grip levels out on track and what they're trying to find in those tires, and all the manufacturers, of course, have different wear patterns and different ways that they you know, go through the tire sets, and it all then depends on the fine tuning that you then run on your car. If you're running, you know, with a lot of toe on it and scrubbing a lot to try and get some more turn in, you are gonna, you know, shred through some more of the rubber on it. So it really comes down to what is the car set up for, and where can it go. Is it a 15-minute quali car setup that you've just thrown extra fuel into, or is this a dialed in hour-long 20-minute setup that you've practiced getting the maximum usage out of the tire sets that you have to use?
Yes, no, 100%. That is correct. Correction on my side.
I mean, it was, I wouldn't even call it a correction, Sebs. I would call it more just food for thoughts. Like, you know, these Patterson is, you know, he's such an established driver now. He's gone through a lot of the processes in getting his name out there, racing in a lot of the local leagues and competing internationally as well, getting his name out there. So it's all about that. And if you can build a brand, like I've always said to people, you can build a brand that you can get behind, and people can start to recognize it. That's when you know, you can really start to explore the fun sides of where the journey can take you. And you know, the guys that have started teams and found sponsors coming on board and getting cool little bits and pieces. That is all like reward for the hard work that they put in. Some people are paid to drive. They've got little salaries that come in, you know, a little bit of money on the side as well. There's so many, you know, different elements that people are doing to put these teams together. And up at the front, Morgan McCall will get past Etienne Kleb while we talk a little bit of rubbish. And I'm not quite sure how far back that was, but maybe we can go and...
It's a little bit of enlightenment, I would call it that.
I'm going to go and see if I can cheat the system and go back to our replay and pick this up quickly. So let's see if we can just quickly go through to McCall, go to the last lap, and see if we can find where that pass went through. So it looks like the run coming down just before Surtees, the inside line for McCall. Yeah, just before the run down the back stretch is where McCall went and got things done. So nice little move coming out from Morgan McCall there, and Etienne Kleb not getting the best run out of the tight left-hander, and that's going to punish him. He's now lost out a couple of car lengths to Morgan. And Besson, he's still got a handful of O'Connor, so he hasn't been able to make much progress up to his teammate of Kleb. I mean, if you look at the times that are coming out, Besson potentially could do something in the next 15 minutes, but it will take a lot of mistakes still from the likes of Kleb. He needs to at least botch a corner for Besson to catch up with just 2/100ths of a second lap. And Besson, big slide coming out, and he's going to hold it off, sit on the outside of the track and be able to rejoin. But that's exactly what O'Connor and Spammers needed here. O'Connor moves himself up to 4th place, and Spammers will settle for 5th, just making their way through. I said it before, Spammers deserves to be in that top 10. Now sits in 5th place. Onno van Mansberg, he's got some pressure on. Schutter looking very, very loose there, and we are going to just catch the back end of it indeed. And Schutter into the wall, and unfortunately for him, that might be the end of his race for him. He's going to struggle to get the car back around, and an unfortunate spin coming out from Sean Schutter there. He's trying to just hang in there for the points towards the end, and we will see him jumping to the pits there eventually. So unfortunately there for Sean Schutter in the number 14 Ferrari. I think it's maybe race over for him. But with 20 drivers remaining in the grid or in the race, he will just pick up 20th place. Almost a freebie. I don't want to call it a freebie, like a consolidation prize, I suppose. But yeah, it's unfortunate that a lot of drivers couldn't be here due to electricity issues and things like that.
Yes, and also just the 3 that perhaps disconnected or left for some other reason, you know, because we started with 23 on the grid. So see, now we're sitting down at 20 on the grid.
We actually had 26 drivers start
26.
today. Yeah, and only 20 have survived Brands Hatch. So Jordan Sherritt, our race leader, and he hasn't had the screen time that he deserves. It sometimes happens though when you're out on track playing Hot Lap Simulator by yourself, and that's really what's happened here with Jordan today. I mean, he's still banging 123s. A 122.9 coming out as his quickest race lap. He's going to go over the line here to do a 123.3 for himself. So just continues to put on the pace. And he's lapped Morgan McCall even at this stage, I think. Has he lapped Morgan McCall? No, he hasn't quite lapped. He hasn't quite lapped Morgan McCall. But Morgan and Kleb, look at them. They're now into the fight. McCall goes wide. Morgan's run wide. Kleb is right on the back of that Lamborghini. Number 19 feeling the heat here as the number 78 Aston Martin steps on that loud pedal, sits in the slipstream and waits for McCall to leave an opening. And McCall Gonna hold the inside apex, not allow Kleb to get through at the top of Paddock Hill Bend. Then on towards Druids. We've seen some moves being made here, and will Kleb be able to find any more? He won't. McCall will hold off Kleb, but this is not where McCall wanted to be coming into the last sort of closing 10 minutes in that very defensive position against the likes of Eti and Kleb. Both of them managing to get that inside apex through Surtees, so the chase continues. Kleb will have the slipstream.
The chase continues indeed, and I must say this has been quite an entertaining race so far. We have seen guys being neck to neck with each other, and not so much what we are seeing with regards to Sherrod, but I mean from second all the way to the bottom, these guys have been trying to, you know, pull in those few tenths and get the better of the driver in front of them, and this is what's currently happening at the moment, where Kleb is really trying hard to pass McCall and grab that second spot.
The difference being in the GT3s versus what we saw in the GT4s is just how different that following closeness can really be. Kleb struggling to sit in the dirty air, being kicked out by the aero of the Lambo in front of the GT3 cars. The GT4s, of course, not so much aero in effect, and a lot closer driving is able to come out from it. So Kleb a little bit wide through Druids, and those small mistakes will give that space to Morgan that he requires, and Morgan will know this. If Kleb makes the mistakes behind him, he can't make similar mistakes or mistakes later on. He has to make sure he gets every single corner right, and that will keep Kleb at bay if Kleb is making mistakes. But if Kleb is not making mistakes and those tents are closing down, McCall is going to have a battle all the way down to the finish line.
This is quite stressful. I can imagine that it's quite stressful because and McCall makes a mistake, as we say, it's stressful.
And
that allows Tab to.
I just missed it, so I'll be able to jump back. We'll get a little slight stream pause with strange audio, but coming up towards the top of Hawthorns, McCall runs a little bit wide through Hawthorns, through Westfield. Oh, the back end of the Lambo coming out to Westfield, and now coming up to Sheen Curve. You just see, oh, there it is. He steps wide, he has to correct, gets a lot of grass, and scrubs off so much speed. So, tiny little mistake, and Kleb back into second place. The amped to play teammates must be going absolutely ham together. Their supporters must be on the edge of their seats. I mean, it's really a knife fight to see who's going to secure that best of the rest second place. I mean, Jordan Sherrod, unless something goes drastically wrong, he runs out of fuel and can't finish the race, or get back to the pits and get back out with fuel, etc. Blah, blah, blah. I mean, it would have to go really badly for Sherrod to lose this, but the fight for second and third is anybody's game. Kleb and McCall continue, which look at O'Connor. Cameron O'Connor is closing the gap on these guys here as well. So if they continue to just play around here at Brands, they're going to have a number 92 Porsche crashing the party, and that could even allow spammers to come in. Tips?
Yeah, O'Connor might just make a sneaky pass through them if they keep going at the pace that they're going, because they're busy fighting each other, which allows O'Connor now that little bit of room to toes in on them, and he might just sneak one in if they keep going at this pace.
The Kleb will give himself some breathing room to the top of the Druids, maybe a little bit deep on the brakes and very wide. That's going to allow McCall to get a nicer exit. Will he be given the space? McCall allows him to come back across the line. So, of course, take the next left-hander up towards Surtees. It will be Kleb to still hold him off. O'Connor has read this like an open book. He's in prime position here. McCall forces the error from Kleb, and McCall makes the same sort of error. O'Connor is there. And I mean, these cars are following close proximity to one another. That dirty aero that I talk about, watch how it will affect these drivers. They're going to be on a knife's edge trying to follow through. McCall looking clean on the exit in the middle of the sandwich. 3 different manufacturers up in this in the order here, and it's really who's going to finish. It's not even who's going to finish second at this point. It's who's going to finish second and third, because Cameron O'Connor has thrown a complete spanner in the works here.
Yes, he has indeed. As you can see, he is really closing in, and look at all of that. I mean, McCall is really trying hard to hold him off, but at this rate, it looks like O'Connor might just squeeze in, but doesn't really have it.
Doesn't quite have it, but McCall and O'Connor are definitely now in that fight between the two of them. This is what Kleb needs to maybe give himself that comfortable second place that he wants to have. McCall goes wide on the grass on the exit, and O'Connor wants to try and have a look, but just look how much pace McCall carries into the apex here and manages to get out of the straight. O'Connor in the slip of McCall in the slip of Kleb, and a lonely Jan Spam is hoping that all 3 of these cars come together and go off track, allowing him to sneak on by. Throwing it in through Hawthorns again. Just look how close this driving's coming in. O'Connor makes a little mistake, comes a little bit wide on the exit through Westfield, up through Dingle Dell. He's now fallen down off the pressure zone. McCall, though, he's still hanging on like an angry fly, and Kleb just not able to shake him at all. McCall in the slip on the run down to Clearways. He really is going to have a look around the outside. McCall, disgusting driving from McCall. Late on the brakes around the outside. And what happened to Kleb there? I mean, Kleb ducked into the pits.
Yes, he's into the pits.
I'm going back 30 seconds again, and I have no regrets about the stream freezing because we have sick custom liveries, and I have to understand what just happened there. So yeah, we get the drive down through Sterling's. McCall sees Kleb on the inside. Kleb. I mean, I have no idea how McCall knew that Kleb was going to brake to go into the pits. I mean, I would have predicted that. Next level reactions from McCall to pull out and not come into the collision of that, because it looked like McCall just got late on the brakes, but I think Kleb just got a little bit early on the brakes for the inside line to get into the pits, and I have no idea why Kleb has had to go in. Did he underfuel the car? He must have underfueled the car. I think that must have been what's happened there. But now Cameron O'Connor up into 3rd place, into a podium position for 3rd. He now has the potential to upset the order and take one off of Morgan McCall from ATK. So it really is a knife fight for 2nd and 3rd with 4 minutes to go. And the race face round's not disappointing at the end of the day.
Not disappointing indeed. This has been fantastic. I mean, it continues to be fantastic. We're seeing O'Connor not giving up, really giving it his all, and this is really paying off to some extent. I mean, you look at that, he's actually making McCall very nervous as he pulls through. Is he going to make it? He's got the outside line, and oh, this is close. They get a little bit of a touch there between McCall and O'Connor.
Just not able to get it done, and a bit of driving, but McCall wide on the grass, pulls back across for the inside. O'Connor comes back. McCall can't move across the track to defend this again. O'Connor has the pace potential here, but look at Jan Spammers. Spammers, if I've got the pronunciation wrong, and if I did that to Afrikaans, then I don't even apologize, because I'm trying my best. And O'Connor here is getting me excited because McCall is under pressure. Jan Spammers is there to capitalize if the opportunity is there. The BWR Scorpions Porsche, who I said at Barcelona didn't deserve to be in the position that he was with the pace that he had. The number 30 here potentially could find himself up towards the front of the pack as well, because McCall and O'Connor continue. They scrap and they scrap. Through Sterling's they go. Lap 53 here at Brands Hatch. Round 2 of the Raceface Season 3 GT3 series taking place on Thursdays. Of course, GT4s taking place on Wednesdays. Always at the same track, so the drivers just have to practice one. And currently just broadcasting the pro splits. I got my homie Tsebo Maloto, the founder of Kaike Racing, in the booth with me today. His first debut cast out today, and it's been an absolute pleasure to have him here. With 2 minutes left to go on the clock, it looks like McCall going to go deep into Druids. O'Connor not there, though, to make use of that potential mistake from McCall, but he does get himself closer. With 2 minutes to go, Tebo, it could come down to the wire. I feel like we leave it like that for every race, and that's the way we like it.
Yeah, this is really entertaining. I mean, O'Connor made a mistake there, T1, which has...
Basson's gone wide as well, and that's allowed Patterson to come through. Sorry, Tebs, I'm going to give you a replay of that you can commentate on. We'll have that to show. Let's just wait for Basson to finish off here. They are going to go side by side. Take us away, Tebs.
So I'm seeing here, this is really odd.
What? Oh, has O'Connor run out?
O'Connor's run out of fuel, it seems.
O'Connor's run out of fuel. He doesn't make it back to the pit box.
Yeah.
This explains the pace that he potentially has had, making up the order, running a lighter car. Jan Spammers from PWR Scorpions, promoted to third. A podium potential coming out here. What is going on today? A minute left on the clock, and we've just seen a complete shift again for who's going to be taking up second and third on the podium.
What an upset for O'Connor. I mean, that must really hurt. And we see Spammers digging deep into McCall, trying to make that move. Let's see what happens in the last 35 seconds.
I mean, I just want to also just highlight that we had missed out on Patterson's move with Basson's defense. Of course, they then came alongside O'Connor, who had run out of fuel. Jordan goes on to the last lap. Spammer's not close enough yet to McCall, I don't feel, to get the position that he requires off here. Jordan Sherritt will go into the top of Druids for the final time. Just gone 8:50 or 8:49 p.m. in some time here at Brands Hatch in the UK. Track has dropped to a chilly 15 degrees to end up. So we really saw a drop in temperature as the sun disappeared in the evening sky. But what a drive it has been for the likes of Jordan Sherritt to see. I just want to see if there's anybody else on track that's got a really close battle for position. McCall and Spammers won't have that battle for position here. It will be McCall to go onto the final lap in second place. Jordan Sherritt now will be rounding the final parts of this race circuit. I want to be able to jump to a little drone view of his car if I can for us, Tsebo.
I'm sure the viewers will appreciate that much, George, if we can get just the last bit of Jordan's drive as he finishes off the race.
He does. He comes over for the final time down the start-finish straight. He flashes on those headlights. The Raceface Speed Labs, GTWR Esports, Porsche will take the race victory here this evening. Morgan McCall will be our car to follow in second place. I mean, such a massive gap down the road for them. I mean, Jordan finishes the race, and we just get our second and third, throwing it into Hawthorns and Westfield now. So Morgan needs to hold off the likes of Spammers for just a little bit longer. It's going to be a close race to the line. For the final time, they go through Sheen Curve and now down into Sterling's. The number 19 Lamborghini leads off against the number 30 Porsche to hold down second place. And Spammers will be the man to stand on the third rung of the podium. And that will be a great finish for Spammers. So second place to Morgan McCall from ATK, and Spammers from BWR will take third place. Kieran Patterson with a very respectful finish, getting himself up to fourth place eventually. Basson with a finish in the top 5 for fifth. Junior McCall, the other ATK driver and Morgan's younger brother, will cross the line in sixth place. Our timetables up there will then round out Kleb 7th, Cap 8th, Glashagen in 9th, Peters in 10th, Bego Krobler in 11th, 12th for Sinnerin, 13th for Kruger, 14th for Van Mansberg, and we'll see our drivers leave the session before the end. We're going to hopefully have some driver interviews here as well with some of our drivers that finished up the race, and we'll be able to see our top 3 come through for a bit of an interview here today. So Jordan Sherritt, of course, winning things out. Hopefully we'll get Jordan Sherritt, Morgan McCall, and will be Jan Spammers into the interview room for a bit of an interview here today. And we will see the rest of the cars leave the order. We'll see most of our cars leave the grid. Might leave us with not quite much to show. I really need to figure out how we can get a leaderboard template into our streams on the fly. I'm not really good with graphic design, so if someone wants to make us a template that we can fill in between the streams, then that would be great. I don't quite see, again, got to that stage of the race where I'm going to try and drag Jordan up here and Morgan up here shortly. Let's hear from Morgan first if we can. I'm going to pull Morgan into the box here.
Somewhere else. Oh yeah. Now where's the place where you're supposed to meet?
Okay, just Sebs, can you go down and check with Morgan if he's ready for an interview in the box below us? You can come back here. I'm going to try and pull Jordan up here. Right. He might be ready for us already. Let me just let me double check if Jordan is ready. Jordan, are you there for us?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so the man himself, Jordan Sherritt, our race winner here today on our first interview. Massive congratulations, Jordan. You really ran away with the field from the very start. So I have to apologize. You didn't get too much screen time on the stream as you played your hot lap simulator, but a massive victory coming out from you there.
Yeah, thanks. It was a bit eventful actually. You guys probably didn't notice. I spun and someone hit me, and I had like 10 seconds damage. So there was a bit eventful towards the end, but yeah, I managed to just keep it on track. And I think, well, after that, I think that's what made the difference. This track's really, really technical, and one small mistake, you lose a lot of time, or you're in the wall, or vice versa. You know, so yeah, it was a good race.
I think that's something interesting that you did mention, because yeah, we did not pick up that at all, that you had any sort of errors. It felt like things had just gone completely smoothly. So always good to hear from you. And I mean, a big victory. You were robbed last week with not being able to stay in the service session at Barcelona, and good to see you get your award here at Brands Hatch.
Yeah, thank you so much, and kudos to my LTE line. It's working really good.
There we go. Sometimes you gotta change it up. And of course, guys, for our viewers, Jordan is one of the Speed Labs coaches over at Raceface. If you guys are looking for driver coaching and a way to get yourself up the field like this man did, head over to the Raceface.Pro website. Go and have a look at the Speed Labs program that's being run there, and of course, get yourself some lessons with the likes of Jordan Sherritt and Bruno Cadili. Jordan, thanks so much for joining us, and again, thanks or congratulations, should I say, on a massive victory.
Thank you so much.
Hey Jordan, big congrats from my side to you. Really, really impressive driving from your side. Really
Thank
great
you.
to see, and big honor for me to be on this commentating team and witness this amazing victory of yours.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, George. We'll chat to you soon, man.
Cheers.
All right, George. Morgan is ready to be pulled up.
Okay, so let's hear from Morgan here. I'm going to pull him up. Morgan, welcome to the stream. Sorry, earlier was we pulled you up a little bit too early, but second place here today. A sterling performance out on track. Looked like you had your hands full of plenty of battles and having to fight for that second place. It wasn't just a freebie out there. But how does it feel, man? Was it intense?
Hey, this race was full of surprises, because I don't know if the other cars had some tire pressure loss during the race, but my tires were at 24 at one point, so it was a tough race. Kleb didn't make it any easier for me.
No, Kleber's a master at both defending and attacking, and I always find that when I used to drive against him, he has the ability to just make a car feel 6 times wider than it actually is.
Yeah, and I saw we got a bit close there for a second, but I'm happy we didn't clash into each
No,
other.
no, for
Kept
sure.
it
You know,
clean. Yes.
yeah, good respect out on track, and it's always good to see, guys, using their heads and realizing that at a track like Brands, you have to give a little bit more space between the two for both cars to, be able to dice fairly, and I think we saw some good examples of that going down.
Yeah, because at one point I thought we were gonna end up in an accident, but I think we got surprised by the temperatures of the track and the air temperatures. I think they were going down as the race was uh, going on, so our tire pressures were normally going to deflate
You're
anyway.
100,
So
you're 100% right on that. I mean, that the track did drop quite severely. I mean, it went all the way down. I mean, it was 27 at a point, and it dropped all the way down. So,
to I think 17 or 16 or
yeah,
something.
15. I even saw 15 coming down on track. So
Because
a good observation indeed.
yeah, I even pit earlier than planned because my tires goes as the tires went down, you had to drive more conservative because sliding around and the car was started becoming loose.
For sure, and then you risk maybe picking up sort of punctures and things like that. So, Morg's a great second place. I think you fought hard for it. Jordan sort of ran up the field. It was always going to be a who's going to finish second or third, really, the final podium positions up for grabs. And yeah, from my side, a massive congrats. Sebo, do you want to add something here as well?
Yeah, congrats and thanks for the wonderful race, Morgan. Really impressed with your racing, and thank you. Also an honor to be commentating on your race. It was really great. It's been a great evening for me, and I hope it's been a great evening and event for our viewers as well.
Yeah, it was very fun, but unfortunately, I think you guys should create a new division for Jordan on his
The
own, and
alien
so he can
division.
leave us alone, please.
Morgan, I think that's a fair closing thoughts. I think we all feel
Please,
this.
I think he should race on his own.
No, Morgan, you know what you have to do is you guys have to just go and sign up for some speed labs lessons with the likes of Sherritt and find out what he's doing. Right, go and learn the secrets. That's the secret out there.
Yeah, my dad is very close with him, so he helps us with setups there and there, but not really all the time. And his setups work. They're good.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
he changed my ability to drive, and I've used some of the setups that he shared in cars that I couldn't drive. So, Morgs, it's been a pleasure having you here. I want to get Jan Spammers in here, or Spammers. I've probably ruined his surname, and he's going to correct me when I pull him in. But
Think
a
we'll
massive
correct.
congratulations to you, and send our regards over to your dad and to your brother as well.
Okay, thanks for the event, guys. It was really nice, but I think I prefer GT4s, by the way, better than
Okay.
GT3s.
Morgan, you've heard it here first. Morgan going to the GT4s. So let me pull you out, Morgan. Thanks again for being here. Let's go and hear from our third place finisher, Jan Spammers. And like I said, I'll probably have got his name wrong. So welcome, Jan. Welcome to the stream. And
Hello, Jan.
my first time getting to chat to you and really get to hear how to, I think, firstly pronounce your name and surname, because I probably get that wrong all the time.
It's Jan Sparmers.
I mean, I was close. I was Sparmers. I was getting
That's
closer.
close enough. It's close
Yeah.
enough. You can go
No,
with
I mean-
Spanish as well, because that was the nickname. I react to that as well.
Okay. So a man that doesn't mind
Yeah.
too much. Doesn't matter too
No,
much. So
no,
I mean, a
no.
massive race coming out from you. You were someone that I noticed at Barcelona that was caught up. I said it on the stream. You're caught up towards the back of the pack at Barcelona, but lapping around with the cars at the same pace. Something went wrong there, and I knew that. Listen, this man is going to be up the order. You qualified within the top 10 here, and then, I mean, just consistency seemed to come out, and you found yourself in third position here at round 2.
Yes, well, that's actually amazing. I think I kept my nose the cleanest. So, kudos to to the podiums. They drove well. P1 obviously did of his own, but I really enjoyed the race. Back Marcus was, giving space. Everybody was racing cleanly. I think I got a little bump somewhere, but it's obviously not intentional.
No, that's what you want to hear, and I think your consistency was something that we noticed throughout. You just kept on popping up on our radar. The relative split times, you made some good passes on people that had made errors, and you kept it on the black stuff. So from my side, it's been great to see you sort of progress through here. Is this your first time racing with Raceface?
I think season 2. I started season 1 at the lower tiers.
Okay.
And then it was obvious that I had too much space to race in those tiers, so they moved me up. And then it's actually nice to see that I've got space, because you always feel like you can go faster. And I think that the race is a different thing to hot lapping, where consistency is key.
No, for sure, and I think that's even cooler. The fact that you've made it up through the ranks, been identified through into the pro division, and unfortunately we don't get to broadcast all the different tiers. I'd love to be able to do so.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate I can't split myself between a million people, but seeing the names coming through the ranks, it's always an honor and a privilege. And you guys are all the people that make this scene what it is today. So from me, massive thank you for participating, grinding through the ranks, and getting up to this division here where we get to enjoy your racecraft out on circuit.
Awesome, man. Thanks for streaming.
Really a pleasure. Sebo, any closing thoughts that you have for Jan?
Yeah, I just would like to say that Jan, you're actually a great motivation and true sportsmanship in showing that if you are determined and really put your mind to it, anything is possible. I mean, you didn't give up throughout that race, and it has paid off. So well done to you, and yeah, thanks a lot for doing that.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jan. We'll see you soon, and I'm sure we'll see you back in one of these interviews again. I've seen that pace before.
That would be nice.
Cheers, brother.
Yeah.
Cheers, Ryan.
Okay, so guys, that concludes our final round here today. I'm going to sign us out and see us out. So a massive thanks, of course, goes out to our sponsors, Resource Complete and Black Ribbon Sim, for putting up with us and making sure that we could represent their brands in the streams that are here. Of course, a massive shout out to Raceface and their admin team for making all possible. Our stewards that get involved in the post-race interviews, as well as our live steward coming in and doing some work behind the scenes live to try and up the game of the live stewarding side. Finally, I would like to make a final massive thanks to Tsebo Malota, of course, from Kai K Racing. This has been his first broadcast with us this evening, and I think he's done a great job. I hope to see him back in here with me again. And from my side, it concludes the racing that we've had at Raceface for the week. Thursday night wraps up the final bits with the GT3s finishing. I'll see you guys next week on Wednesday for the GT4 round at Misano, and then on Thursday, same time, same place, we throw the GT3s there. So guys, thanks so much again to all of our wonderful viewers for participating, joining, making the place as amazing as it is. Our drivers for putting in the time and effort to give us the racecraft on track. We'll see you guys next week.